welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves, Environmental Research Station Number 7, Nevada Desert, April 24th, 2025. Another day of nothing but dust and silence. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring, searching for something, anything, to latch onto. I've been stationed at this outpost for 3 weeks now, and the initial excitement of conducting the first comprehensive soil microbiology study in this region has worn thin against the relentless heat and isolation. My equipment picked up another anomalous seismic pattern today. Third one this week. According to all geological surveys, this area should be relatively inactive. Minor tremors, sure, but nothing with this peculiar rhythm. I initially blamed it on equipment malfunction. The heat plays hell with the calibration, but after triple-checking everything, I'm forced to consider that something unusual is happening beneath the surface. The pattern defies conventional seismic behavior. It's too regular, almost rhythmic, approximately 17 to 22 cycles per minute. The duration of each pulse is consistent, lasting about 3 seconds, followed by a longer pause, then repeating. I've compiled the data on my tablet, but the visual representation disturbs me more than I care to admit. It resembles a respiration pattern more than any geological event I've ever studied. Perhaps I've been alone out here too long. Field Journal entry continued. April 25th, 2025. I woke before dawn to check the monitors. The rhythm continued throughout the night, but with a subtle change. It's slower now, averaging 15 to 18 cycles per minute. Almost as if whatever is causing it entered a different phase of sleep. God, listen to me. I'm anthropomorphizing seismic data. I decided to conduct a field examination at the epicenter of the readings, about 2 miles east of the research station. The temperature was already climbing past 90 degrees Fahrenheit by 7 a.m. as I loaded my pack with water, sample collection equipment, and emergency gear. Standard protocol for desert excursions. The satellite phone feels heavier than usual in my pocket. My only connection to the outside world out here. I followed the GPS coordinates to a seemingly unremarkable stretch of desert. Scattered creosote bushes, a few barrel cacti, and endless sand and rock. Nothing visibly different from the surrounding terrain. I set up my portable seismic monitor and confirmed I was indeed at the epicenter of the anomaly. That's when I saw it. It was subtle at first. So subtle I thought it was a mirage, a trick of the heat rising from the sand. The ground appeared to be moving in a gentle, undulating motion. I froze, my water bottle halfway to my lips, afraid to blink. The movement continued. A slight rise, hold, then fall of the desert floor, covering an area about 50 yards in diameter. I forced myself to approach, my boots sinking slightly deeper into the sand than they should have. At the center of the formation, I dropped to my knees and pressed my palm flat against the ground. The sand was warm, warmer than it should be even under the desert sun, and beneath my hand, I could feel it, a pulse, rising, falling, like a chest expanding with breath. I scrambled backward, heart racing, and nearly trampled my equipment in my haste. Once I regained my composure, I collected soil samples from varying depths and distances from the epicenter. The scientific part of my brain took over, methodical and precise, while another part screamed that what I was experiencing defied rational explanation. My hand trembled as I sealed the sample containers. I need to run analyses back at the station before jumping to conclusions. There must be a logical explanation. Thermal expansion, underground gas pockets, something within the realm of known science. Yet as I packed up my gear, a gust of wind blew across the site, and I swear, It sounded like an exhalation. Field Journal Audio Entry. April 25th, 2025, 1642. Sound of equipment humming in background. The preliminary analysis of the soil samples is concerning. The sand contains microscopic organisms I can't identify. They're not bacteria or fungi, at least not any species in my reference databases. Their cellular structure is unlike anything I've encountered in my 15 years of environmental research. Sound of papers shuffling. They appear dormant in most samples, but the ones from the center of the formation, the ones from where the breathing was most pronounced, they're active. Under the microscope, they move with purpose, forming and breaking connections with each other in patterns that seem almost coordinated. Long pause. Sound of chair creaking. I've sent images and data to the university lab, but with the satellite connection out here, it could be days before I get a response. Until then, static interruption. Sounds similar to emergency broadcast system tone. What the hell? That's my phone. It's never received an emergency alert out here before. Sound of movement, then phone alert clearly audible. Nevada Emergency Management Agency. Dust advisory for Clark County. Unusual atmospheric conditions detected. Residents advised to remain indoors with windows sealed until further notice. This is not a test. Pause. Sound of typing. That's odd. The sky looks clear from my window. No dust storms approaching that I can see. And why would they issue a dust advisory at this time of year? We're well past dust storm season. Wait, there's movement outside the station. Sound of footsteps. Door opening. Voice suddenly hushed. There are vehicles on the access road. Black SUVs, the kind government agencies use. And is that? Yes, that's a military helicopter in the distance. What the hell would they be doing out here? Sound of camera shutter clicking repeatedly. They're heading toward the anomaly site. This can't be a coincidence. They know something about what's happening out there. The dust advisory must be a cover for sudden loud rumbling sound. Jesus! The whole station just shook. The seismic monitor is going crazy. The pattern has changed. It's faster now, much faster. Almost 30 cycles per minute. Alarms beeping in background. I need to back up my data. If they're coming here next, I can't risk losing everything I've found. Whatever is happening in this desert is bigger than a simple geological anomaly. And static interference grows louder. Recording ends abruptly. Scrawled note found on desk at research station number 7. If anyone finds this, the desert is breathing. It's breathing. And they know. The alert system isn't warning people. It's containing them. I'm going back to the site tonight. I need to see it again before they lock it down completely. The sand feels warm beneath my feet now, like skin with a fever. Doutori Hivis. Field Journal Audio Entry. April 25th, 2025, 23:17. Hushed voice. Sound of wind in background. I've made it back to the anomaly site. Had to wait until nightfall to avoid the government vehicles. They've established some kind of perimeter about half a mile from here, but their attention seems focused on the western approach. I slipped through from the east using the ridgeline as cover. The desert looks different at night. The moonlight casts everything in silver and shadow, and without the sun's glare, I can see the movement more clearly now. It's undeniable. The ground rises and falls in a slow, steady rhythm, like something massive is sleeping just beneath the surface. Sound of equipment being unpacked. Temperature readings are even more unusual than during the day. The epicenter is registering nearly 15 degrees warmer than the surrounding desert. There's no visible heat source, no evidence of volcanic or geothermal activity. The heat is coming from below, from whatever is breathing. Pause. Sound of movement. I'm going to try something. I've brought a ground-penetrating radar unit. It's basic, meant for locating buried artifacts or geological features, but it might give me some insight into what's happening beneath the sharp intake of breath. My God, the radar image. There's something down there, about 40 feet below the surface. The image is hazy, but it's enormous. The shape covers the entire scan range. It's not a cave system or a geological formation. The edges are too organic, too deliberate. Sound of digging. I'm taking deeper soil samples now. The sand feels different here, almost moist, with a texture I can't quite describe. It clings to my tools like it's reluctant to be removed. Wait, what's that light? Sound of equipment being hastily packed. Flashlights coming this way. I need to go. Now, recording ends. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. Environmental Research Station number 7. April 26, 2025. Made it back to the station just before dawn. No sign that anyone searched the place while I was gone. But I can't shake the feeling of being watched. More vehicles have arrived at the perimeter they're establishing. I counted at least 8 SUVs and what looked like 2 transport trucks through my binoculars. My phone has received 3 more emergency alerts since yesterday. Nevada Emergency Management Agency. Dust Advisory Update. Condition upgraded to Level 2. Residents within 50 miles of Las Vegas advised to seal homes and limit outdoor exposure. Air quality monitoring in progress. Clark County Health Department. Report any respiratory symptoms immediately to local health authorities. Precautionary measure only. U.S. Geological Survey. Minor seismic activity detected near Las Vegas. No cause for alarm. Monitoring continues. 3 different agencies, 3 slightly different messages. Something doesn't add up. The air is clearer than usual, actually. I've checked my own monitoring equipment, and there's no indication of unusual particulates or pollutants. And the USGS alert about minor seismic activity is a gross understatement of what my instruments are detecting. They're hiding something. The deeper soil samples I collected last night are even more disturbing than the first batch. The concentration of unknown microorganisms increases dramatically with depth. Under the microscope, they appear more active, moving in synchronized patterns that remind me of neural networks. I've never seen microbes behave this way. It's as if they're communicating with each other or responding to some central command. Most concerning, when I place samples from different depths side by side, they seem to synchronize their movements within minutes. Whatever these organisms are, they're connected somehow. I've tried calling my department head at the university, but the cell service is suddenly out of range. The satellite internet connection is working, but barely, just enough to receive alerts, but not enough to send my findings or even a simple email. This feels deliberate. Field Journal Audio Entry. April 26, 2025, 14:38. Sound of vehicle approaching, then stopping. Someone's here. Pickup truck. Looks like a local vehicle, not government. I'm gonna see who it is. Sound of door opening. Footsteps. New voice. Male, with slight southwestern accent. You Dr. Reeves? The soil guy? Reeves' voice. Yes, that's me. And you are? New voice. Name's Manny. Manny Ortega. I live about 15 miles south of here. Been watching all them government types swarming around. Figured you might know what's going on, being a scientist and all. Sound of movement. Door closing. Conversation continues inside. He says he's lived in this area his entire life. 3rd generation. His family has a small ranch on the edge of the desert. He's noticed the ground movement for years, thought it was normal until recently when it became more pronounced. His grandfather used to tell stories about the sleeping giant beneath the sand, but Manny always dismissed them as superstition. Manny's voice, distant from microphone. Thing is, Doc, these dust advisories are bullshit. Been living here 47 years, and I know what a dust condition looks like. This ain't it. But whatever's happening, it's affecting my livestock. Cattle won't graze in the east pasture anymore, the one closest to where you're studying. They get agitated like they can sense something we can't. Reeves' voice. Have you noticed anything else unusual? Changes in water quality, wildlife behavior, anything at all? Manny's voice. Well, now that you mention it, the well water's been warmer lately. Thought it was just the season changing, but it started before the real heat set in. And there's the sound sometimes, real low, more like a feeling than something you hear with your ears, like a humming beneath your feet. He's showing me something on his phone now. Photos he took 3 days ago of strange patterns in the sand near his property. They look like ripples, but they're too symmetric, too organized. Almost like fingerprints or a pulse wave visualization.
Urgentonne.
Wait, what's that noise? Sound of emergency alert tone from multiple devices simultaneously. Both our phones are going off at once. Alert message being read. Emergency alert. Temporary quarantine zone established in eastern Clark County due to possible biological contamination. All residents within zone must register at checkpoints. Non-compliance is subject to federal penalties. Map coordinates follow. Manny's voice, concerned, That's my ranch they're talking about. And this research station. They're quarantining us. Reeves' voice, biological contamination? That has to be related to what I found in the soil samples. Manny's voice, Doc, there's something my grandfather used to say about the desert. He said it wasn't just land, it was something alive, something ancient that was here long before people. Said it sleeps for centuries, then wakes up hungry. Sound of vehicle engines in the distance. Reeves speaking quickly, they're coming this way. Manny, how well do you know the back roads around here? Manny's voice, like the back of my hand. Why? Reeves' voice, because I need to get these samples somewhere safe before they confiscate everything. And I think you might be the only person who can help me understand what's really happening here. Sound of equipment being packed hastily. Recording ends. Handwritten note found stuck between pages of field journal. Manny showed me the caves. The breathing is louder there, reverberating through the rock. The walls pulse with heat. The desert isn't just breathing, it's waking up. The authorities are calling it an ecological anomaly. They lie through their teeth while establishing more checkpoints. Sheriff Bradshaw was on the local radio, assuring everyone it's just a precaution. But I've seen the thermal imaging now. Whatever is beneath us, it's vast. It spans miles, and it's getting warmer every day. Manny says his grandfather once told him, when the desert breathes, it's best not to be around for the exhalation. I fear we're already too late. Audio recording voice memo. April 27th, 2025, 4:12 a.m. Location, cave system, eastern Clark County. Echo of dripping water in background. Reeves speaking quietly. It's been nearly 6 hours since Manny and I fled the research station. We left just in time. Through his truck's rearview mirror, we saw the convoy arrive. At least 4 military vehicles, unmarked except for small insignias I couldn't make out. They'll have confiscated everything by now. Field equipment, backup drives, physical notes. Thank God I had the foresight to keep my primary journal and the core samples with me. Manny brought me to this cave system about 12 miles southeast of the station. It's not on any official maps. Apparently his grandfather showed him these passages decades ago, told him they were sacred places not to be shared with outsiders. I'm grateful for his trust now, though the irony isn't lost on me that I'm essentially hiding from my own government in order to continue scientific research. Deep breath. The caves extend deep into the earth, much deeper than I would have expected for this region. The main passage we followed slopes downward at roughly 15 degrees for nearly half a mile before opening into this larger chamber where we've set up a temporary base. Manny has gone to check on alternate exits, just in case we need to evacuate quickly. What's most remarkable about this place, though, is what I can feel through the rock. The breathing pattern is unmistakable here, transmitted through the limestone with perfect clarity. The walls themselves rise and fall slightly with each cycle, about 18 to 20 pulses per minute now. Faster than yesterday. The temperature is unusually warm for a cave at this depth, hovering around 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It should be cooler. Another anomaly to add to the growing list. I've set up my portable microscope to examine the latest samples and sound of footsteps approaching. Manny's back. I'll continue this later. Recording ends. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. Cave Hideout. April 27th, 2025. Manny returned with troubling news. He ventured up to a viewing point that overlooks much of the valley and reports that the government presence has expanded dramatically overnight. Multiple checkpoints on all major roads, helicopter patrols, and what appears to be the construction of a temporary facility near the original anomaly site. "They're building something big out there, Doc," he told me. "Prefab structures, satellite equipment, the works. Looks like they're digging in for the long haul." He also mentioned that his phone no longer works at all. No service, not even emergency alerts coming through. Mine still receives alerts but can't make calls or access the internet. The latest message came through just before we entered the cave system. Emergency management update. Roadblocks established on routes 15, 93, 95, and 160. Mandatory screening of all vehicles. Cooperation required. Temporary measure for public safety. Manny thinks they're looking for us specifically. Not just general containment, but a targeted search. "They know you have samples," he said. "You're a liability now." He may be right, which makes what I've discovered in those samples all the more significant and dangerous. The microorganisms are changing. The ones collected closest to the epicenter are undergoing some form of accelerated evolution. Under the microscope, I can see them developing more complex structures, communicating with increasing sophistication. They respond to stimuli in ways that suggest not just primitive reaction, but something approaching intelligence. Most disturbing of all, when I checked the container with samples taken from my own skin, just a control swab from my forearm, I found traces of these same organisms. They're airborne, or at least capable of transfer through minimal contact. I should be terrified by this revelation, but I find myself oddly fascinated instead. There's something almost beautiful about their patterns of movement, their synchronicity. I found myself staring at the microscope for long stretches, losing track of time. Manny says we should move deeper into the cave system tonight. He knows a chamber where we can access an underground spring for fresh water. I've agreed, though part of me wants to return to the surface to get closer to the epicenter again. To feel the breathing more directly. That thought should disturb me more than it does. Audio recording voice memo. April 27th, 2025, 1938. Location: deeper cave chamber. Sound of rushing water in background. We've relocated to the chamber Manny mentioned. The underground spring provides clean water, and the chamber is large enough for us to spread out our limited supplies. The breathing sensation is stronger here, more pronounced than in the upper chamber. The walls seem to flex with each cycle, and there's a faint luminescence in some of the rock striations. A pale blue-green glow that pulses in time with the rhythm. Manny says his grandfather called this place the lung. Now I understand why. Sound of radio static. Then a voice. We found an old emergency radio in Manny's pack, and after some adjustment, managed to pick up a local broadcast. The sheriff, someone named Bradshaw, was making an announcement about precautionary measures and assuring everyone that the situation was fully contained. He mentioned a temporary research facility established to study unusual geological phenomena, but insisted there was no danger to residents. Manny laughed bitterly at that. "Bradshaw's always been a puppet," he said. "Whoever's pulling his strings now must have deep pockets." After the sheriff's announcement, there was a brief statement from someone identified as Major Voss, liaison to the research team. Her message was clinical, rehearsed, emphasizing cooperation with authorities and dismissing rumors of quarantine measures as misinformation. Then came another emergency alert broadcast. "Attention! All residents within designated zone must report for mandatory health screening within 48 hours. Temporary medical facilities have been established at locations marked on the attached map. This measure is preventative only." Manny turned off the radio after that. "Health screening," he scoffed. "They're looking for signs of infection." The word choice disturbed me. Infection. Is that what this is? Am I infected? Are the microorganisms changing me somehow? I've been monitoring my own vital signs since yesterday. My temperature has risen slightly, 99.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Not quite a fever, but elevated. My resting heart rate has slowed to 58 BPM, well below my normal 72. And most concerning, I've noticed my breathing has begun to synchronize with the pulsing of the cave walls. Inhale as they expand, exhale as they contract. I mentioned this to Manny, and he went quiet for a long moment. Then he rolled up his sleeve and showed me his forearm. There's a pattern on his skin, faint like a birthmark or a bruise just beginning to form. It resembles the ripple patterns we saw in the sand, concentric circles radiating outward. Started showing up yesterday, he said. Doesn't hurt. Actually feels right somehow. I checked my own arms. Nothing visible yet, but there's a sensation beneath the skin. A subtle tingling that pulses in rhythm with the breathing of the walls. Something is happening to us. To everyone in this region, I suspect. The microorganisms aren't just in the soil. They're changing it. Changing us. Sound of rocks shifting. Wait, what was that? Louder sound of stone grinding against stone. The cave is shifting. Not collapsing, but reconfiguring somehow. The walls are moving in ways they shouldn't be able to. The luminescent striations are brightening, pulsing faster. Manny is backing away, eyes wide. Doc, he whispers. We need to go. Now, but I can't move. There's something forming in the rock face in front of me. An impression, like a handprint pushing through from the other side. The stone is behaving like a membrane, stretching, yielding to pressure from within. It's reaching for us. Manny's voice, urgent. Reeves, snap out of it. We have to move. Sound of shuffling, equipment being grabbed hastily. Reeves' voice, distracted. Just one more minute. I need to see what happens when it breaks through. Manny's voice, forceful. There's no time. Listen, sound of distant voices echoing through cave passages. Reeves suddenly alert. Who is that? How did they find us? Manny, grim. Someone who knows these caves as well as I do. Come on. There's another way out, but we have to hurry. Sound of running footsteps. Heavy breathing. Reeves, breathless. The samples. I can't leave the samples. Manny, urgent whisper. Forget the samples. You've got the infection in your blood now. We all do. Sound of emergency alert tone from radio. Attention. Unauthorized persons detected in restricted zone 7. All units converge. Subjects are to be considered contaminated. Approach with level 3 containment protocols. They're coming for us. But I can't shake the feeling that we're not the only ones they should be worried about finding down here. Sound of stone continuing to deform. Recording ends abruptly. Crumpled note found in abandoned tunnel. Handwriting identified as Dr. Elijah Reeves. We've been moving for hours through passages that shouldn't exist. Manny says these tunnels weren't here when he explored as a child. They're new or newly revealed. The stone feels different here. Almost soft. Yielding, like tissue rather than rock. Lost the portable microscope during our escape. Most of the samples, too. Only have 2 vials left, the deepest soil sample and one from the cave wall where the handprint was forming. Manny's forearm pattern has expanded. The concentric circles now cover his entire arm from wrist to shoulder. My own skin shows the first signs. Faint ripples across my palm, pulsing in time with the desert's breath. The breathing is inside us now. Audio recording voice memo. April 28th, 2025, 8:42. Location, unknown depth. Sound of labored breathing. I've lost track of how long we've been underground. My watch says it's morning, but down here, time feels stretched, distorted. We've found a small chamber to rest in after hours of navigating tunnels that seemed to shift behind us as we passed. Manny is sleeping now. His condition is progressing faster than mine. The pattern has spread across his chest and up the side of his neck. His breathing has slowed dramatically, only about 6 breaths per minute. But each breath is deeper, more sustained, perfectly matched to the rhythm pulsing through the stone around us. Sound of coughing. My own transformation is accelerating. The ripple pattern now covers both my hands and is creeping up my forearms. My temperature has risen to 100.3 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a pressure in my chest, not painful but insistent, as if my lungs are being remodeled from within. Most concerning is what's happening to my perception.
I'm experiencing flashes.
Moments where I see through what feels like other eyes. Vast panoramas of the desert from above. Microscopic views of soil particles. Networks of roots and fungal threads spreading beneath the surface. These visions last only seconds, but they're becoming more frequent, more vivid. Yesterday, or was it hours ago? Time is slippery down here. We found something that defies explanation. A chamber larger than any natural cave formation should be, with walls that curved upward to form a perfect dome. The floor was a membrane stretched taut like a drum, vibrating with each massive breath from below. And embedded in the walls, partially submerged in the living stone, were shapes. Humanoid shapes. Dozens of them. Some appeared to be recent. Modern clothing still visible on the portions not yet absorbed by the rock. Others were ancient, little more than impressions, faces frozen in expressions of rapture or terror. It was impossible to tell which. Manny recognized one of them. "That's Miguel Vasquez," he whispered. "Disappeared hiking 3 years ago. They searched for weeks. We didn't linger there." Sound of shifting stone in distance. The passages continue to reconfigure themselves around us. Sometimes closing behind us, sometimes opening new routes. It's as if the cave system is a living organism, its tunnels, veins, and arteries carrying us deeper into its body. My radio picked up another emergency broadcast earlier. Through the static, I heard Sheriff Bradshaw's voice. "Remain calm. The National Guard has been deployed to assist with evacuation procedures." I repeat, this is not a cause for panic, simply a precautionary measure. All residents within Zone 7 must proceed to designated extraction points by 1800 hours today. Bring only essential items and necessary medication. Transportation will be provided to temporary accommodation. The transmission cut out after that. But the implication is clear. They're evacuating civilians from the area. Whatever is happening, it's accelerating beyond their ability to contain or conceal. Sound of Manny stirring. He's waking up. I should turn this off. Recording ends. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. Unknown location beneath Nevada desert. April 28, 2025. Manny led us through another series of tunnels after he woke, moving with surprising confidence despite never having been in these specific passages before. "I can feel where we need to go," he explained when I questioned him. "It's like following a current." I understood what he meant. There's a pull now, a direction that feels right on an instinctual level. We're being drawn toward something. Around midday, according to my increasingly unreliable watch, we stumbled upon signs of human presence. Recent human presence. A temporary camp with abandoned equipment. Military-grade gear, communications devices, weapons, sample collection kits. No sign of the personnel themselves, but disturbing evidence of their fate. Torn uniforms embedded in the cave floor, partially absorbed into the stone. A helmet fused to the wall, the material of both blending together at the seam. Among the abandoned items, we found a tablet still powered on. Most of its files were encrypted, but the emergency alert system was active. The messages painted a grim picture. Alert to all containment teams. Zone expansion in progress. Perimeter breach detected in sectors 4, 7, and 12. Fall back to secondary containment lines. Evacuation order. Las Vegas metropolitan area. Phase 1 initiated. Civilian extraction priority alpha. Attention all personnel. Biological entity classification upgraded to level 5. Direct contact protocols now in effect. All exposed personnel must report for immediate quarantine. They know. They understand what's happening. Perhaps better than we do. This isn't just some localized anomaly. It's an awakening, and it's spreading. Manny was examining the alerts when another one arrived, accompanied by an emergency tone. Warning. Seismic anomaly expanding. Estimate 37.2 square miles now affected. Breathing pattern accelerating. All research teams evacuate underground facilities immediately. As if in response, the tunnel around us shuddered. The walls flexed more dramatically than before, the breathing pattern quickening to nearly 30 cycles per minute. A deep groan reverberated through the stone. Not the sound of structural stress, but something organic, almost vocal. "It knows we're here," Manny whispered. The patterns on his skin pulsed with light as he spoke, a faint bioluminescence matching the striations in the rock walls. Before I could respond, the tablet lit up with an incoming video call. Without thinking, I answered it. A woman's face appeared on screen, her expression tense but controlled. Military bearing. Her uniform indicated a high rank, though I'm not familiar enough with military insignia to identify it precisely. "Dr. Reeves," she said without preamble. "This is Major Caroline Voss. We've been tracking your movements through the cave system. You need to stop and wait for extraction. You're moving deeper into the entity, not away from it." "Entity?" I asked. "You know what this is?" Her eyes narrowed. "We know enough to understand the danger. You and your companion are showing advanced signs of synchronization. The patterns on your skin indicate neural compatibility with the organism. If you continue on your current trajectory, complete absorption is inevitable." "Absorption? Like those people we saw embedded in the walls?" "Those are the lucky ones," she replied grimly. "The fully synchronized become something else entirely. Vessels, conduits. The organism uses them to extend its reach." Manny stepped forward then, into view of the tablet's camera. The patterns on his neck now reached his jawline, glowing faintly in the dim light of the tunnel. "You're lying," he said calmly. "You don't want to help us. You want to study us. See how far the transformation goes." Major Voss's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or calculation. "Mr. Ortega," she said. "Your grandfather was Manuel Ortega Sr., wasn't he? One of the few who survived the 1976 incident." Manny stiffened beside me. "What incident?" "My grandfather never mentioned, because his memories were suppressed," Voss interrupted. "Standard procedure at the time. But he knew enough to keep you away from the caves, didn't he? To warn you about the desert breathing." Before Manny could respond, the tunnel shuddered again, more violently this time. Dust and small fragments of stone rained down around us. The tablet's signal began to break up, Major Voss's image distorting. Running out of time, her voice came through the static. "Meet our team at Junction. Containment procedures. Chance of reversing early-stage synchronization." The connection died as the cave gave another heave. This time, I heard a distinct crack as a fissure opened in the floor between us and the abandoned equipment. "She's lying," Manny said firmly, backing away from the widening crack. "We can't trust them, but I'm not so sure. The patterns on my skin are spreading faster now, crawling up past my elbows. And the visions are becoming more frequent, more invasive. Glimpses of something vast and ancient stirring beneath miles of stone and sand. A consciousness so alien that my mind can barely process contact with it. Are we being absorbed, as Voss suggested? Or are we becoming something new?" The fissure continues to widen, forcing us deeper into the tunnel system, away from any chance of meeting Voss's extraction team. Manny seems almost relieved, but as we retreat from the military equipment, I can't help noticing that we're moving in perfect unison now. Our steps match the breathing rhythm of the cave. Our heartbeats synchronize with each other and with the pulses of light flowing through the stone around us. And for the first time, I'm truly afraid. Journal entry ends with a smeared ink pattern resembling the concentric circles described on Manny's skin. Audio recording partial transcript. Recovered from damaged device. April 29th, 2025. Timestamp corrupted. Static and distortion throughout recording. Reeves' voice strained. The patterns have reached my face now. I can feel them crawling across my cheeks, around my eyes. When I touch them, the skin feels different. Slightly raised, warmer than the surrounding tissue. The circles pulse with a faint blue-green light, brightest when I'm closest to the walls. Manny is changing faster. The patterns cover most of his body now. His eyes have developed a milky film that glows in the darkness. He barely speaks anymore, but when he does, his voice carries strange harmonics, as if multiple voices are layered beneath his own. Sound of stone shifting. We've reached what Manny calls the threshold, a massive chamber unlike anything I've seen before. The ceiling arches hundreds of feet above us, supported by columns that look eerily like giant ribs. The floor slopes downward toward the center, forming a perfect bowl shape. And at the center, voice breaks. Breathing becomes irregular. At the center is a pit that descends into darkness. But it's not just a pit. It's moving, contracting and expanding. A massive aperture, like God. I can barely bring myself to say it, like a pupil dilating. With each expansion, warm air rushes up from below, carrying a scent I can only describe as ancient. Not decay exactly, but time. The smell of millennia passing. Manny stands at the edge of this eye, his arms spread wide, the patterns on his skin pulsing in sync with the contractions of the aperture. He's been standing there for hours, unmoving except for his breathing, which has slowed to just 3 or 4 breaths per minute. Deep, sustained respirations that match the massive rhythm emanating from below. Static increases. I found another tablet here. Military issue like the one we discovered earlier. It was partially embedded in the stone of the chamber wall, as if the rock had begun to grow around it. The screen was cracked but still functional. It contained a video file, a message from Major Voss, recorded yesterday. Sound of tablet being activated. Major Voss's voice, distorted. Dr. Reeves, if you find this, listen carefully. Our team never reached extraction point Delta. The cave system reconfigured itself, collapsed passages behind us, opened new ones that led us deeper instead of toward the surface. Just like it's been doing to you, what we're dealing with isn't just an organism. It's an ecosystem, a meta-organism composed of countless smaller entities working in perfect symbiosis. The breathing pattern is a system-wide synchronization mechanism, and it's accelerating because the entity is preparing for a phase shift. The patterns appearing on your skin are colonies of microorganisms establishing neural bridges, connecting your nervous system to the larger network. The visions you're experiencing are bleed-through from the entity's sensory apparatus. It's vast, Dr. Reeves. It extends beneath most of Nevada, with tendrils reaching into Arizona, California, Utah. And it's waking up after what we estimate to be a 250-year dormancy cycle. The 1976 incident was a false alarm, a localized stirring that subsided. But this is different. Our seismic readings indicate movement throughout the entire system. Whatever it's planning, it's happening now. Within days, possibly hours. If you reach the central chamber, what our indigenous consultants call the eye, do not approach the aperture. The synchronization becomes irreversible there. Yule, message cuts off in static. Reeves' voice returns. That was all I could recover. The rest of the file was corrupted. But it's enough to confirm what I've begun to suspect. This isn't just some underground organism. It's something far more vast, far more ancient than humanity has ever encountered. And we've built our cities on top of it. Our roads, our lives. Las Vegas sits on the entities. What? It's back? Its shell? God, the implications are staggering. If what Voss says is true, if this thing extends beneath multiple states, then we're talking about an organism the size of... Long pause. I can't even conceptualize it. Nothing living should be that large. Nothing could evolve naturally to that scale. Unless it's not from here originally. The visions I've been having, glimpses of stars from impossible angles, landscapes under skies with multiple suns, vast migration journeys through the cold of space. They're not hallucinations or metaphors. They're memories. It's memories. Sound of emergency alert tone. My phone still works down here, somehow. Another emergency alert. National Emergency Alert System. Mandatory evacuation ordered for Las Vegas and surrounding counties. Seismic instability detected. This is not a drill. Proceed immediately to evacuation routes marked on attached map. Military personnel will assist in evacuation efforts. They're evacuating the entire city now. Hundreds of thousands of people. But I fear they're already too late. Sound of movement. Footsteps. Manny has moved closer to the aperture. He's kneeling at its edge now, his hand hovering above the darkness. The patterns on his skin are pulsing faster, brighter. I should stop him, pull him back, but I find myself walking forward instead, drawn by the same irresistible pull. The patterns on my own skin brighten as I approach, resonating with something rising from the depths. Recording ends. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. The Eye Chamber, April 29, 2025. I'm writing this from the edge of the aperture. Manny has gone. There's no other way to describe it. He stepped into the darkness and was simply absorbed, like a drop of water returning to the ocean. One moment he was there, kneeling at the edge, the next gone. Not a sound, not a ripple in the darkness, just absence. But I can still feel him. Somehow, I know he still exists, integrated into the greater consciousness that pulses beneath us. His memories, his self, dissolved but not destroyed. Transformed. The patterns now cover my entire body. My skin has become translucent in places, revealing a network of luminous filaments beneath that pulse with the rhythm of the breathing desert. My thoughts come slower now, more deliberate, but with strange new connections forming. Ideas and concepts I never would have linked before now seem obviously related. I should be terrified. I should be fighting this transformation with every fiber of my being. But I find myself accepting it with an eerie calm. There's a promise in the pulses of light beneath my skin. A promise of understanding beyond human limits. Of knowledge that stretches back billions of years, across unimaginable distances. My phone lit up one final time moments ago. Not an emergency alert, but a direct message. Somehow, Major Voss found a way to bypass the standard communication channels. Dr. Reeves, if you can still read this, you need to make a choice now. Our teams have reached the outer perimeter of the eye chamber. We have developed a compound that may disrupt the synchronization process if administered early enough. But we cannot approach further without triggering acceleration in the entity's awakening cycle. You must come to us. This is your last chance to remain human. Human. What does that word even mean now? A brief flicker of consciousness in the vast timeline of the universe. A tiny, isolated awareness, cut off from the greater rhythms of cosmic existence. The entity offers something more, something greater, and yet I find myself hesitating at the edge of the abyss. Some stubborn core of my humanity refuses to surrender completely. The scientist in me still wants to observe, to record, to understand, not to become. I think of all the people above, in Las Vegas, in the surrounding towns, fleeing their homes as the ground beneath them shifts and writhes with increasing violence. What happens when the entity fully awakens? What happens to them? In the visions I've shared with the entity, I've glimpsed other worlds, worlds transformed, reshaped to serve as vessels for creatures like this one. Entire ecosystems absorbed and repurposed. Is that Earth's fate? Handwriting becomes increasingly erratic. There's movement in the aperture now. Something rising from the depths. The darkness is taking form, coalescing into a shape both familiar and utterly alien. It reminds me of a hand, but with too many fingers, each one impossibly long and sinuous. It's reaching for me. My phone is vibrating frantically. More messages from Voss. We detect movement at your location. Entity accelerating. Making final approach now. Reeves, run. Back away from the aperture. Follow the blue markers our team is placing. I can see the markers, small blue lights appearing along one of the tunnels leading from the chamber. Soldiers in hazmat suits are visible in the distance, waving frantically for me to come toward them. Behind me, The hand continues to rise from the darkness, unfurling like a terrible flower. The chamber trembles with the force of the entity's breathing, which has accelerated to match my racing heart. A choice. I have to make a choice. The soldiers or the abyss, humanity or transcendence, the rhythm of my own feeble heart or the eternal pulse of something vast beyond comprehension. Final line written in shaky, barely legible script. The desert is breathing through me now, and I am breathing through it. Remaining pages of journal show only patterns of concentric circles, drawn with increasing precision and complexity. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. Date: April 30th, 2025. Location: outskirts of evacuation zone, Nevada. I've managed to escape the eye chamber, but not without cost. The military extraction team led by Major Voss retrieved me just as the entity's appendage was about to make contact. The soldiers had to physically drag me away, half of me fighting to return to the abyss, the other half clinging to what remains of my humanity. I was sedated during evacuation, waking only when we reached this makeshift command center 10 miles from the primary site. The patterns covering my skin have stopped spreading, but they haven't receded. They pulse with a dull, bluish glow whenever I face south, toward the epicenter. Voss says this is progress. The compound they've administered seems to have halted the synchronization process, though I can still feel the desert's rhythm in my blood. My breath still wants to match its cycle. Manny is gone. There's no trace of him in any of the evacuation manifests. According to Voss, he never emerged from the underground network. When I close my eyes, sometimes I can almost sense him. His consciousness diffused throughout the entity, like a drop of ink in an ocean. No longer Manny, but not entirely gone either. Audio recording number 37, May 1st, 2025, 0600 hours. Sound of helicopter rotors in background. Reeves' voice, weary. Sunrise over the Nevada desert. From this elevation, you can see the affected area, a vast circular zone approximately 40 miles in diameter. The sand shifts in rhythmic patterns, like ripples on water, but with precise geometric configurations. Concentric circles emanating from the central point where we found the eye. Major Voss is allowing me to document this flight on the condition that all recordings remain classified. The military has established a perimeter around the zone, evacuating all settlements within a 60-mile radius. That includes the eastern suburbs of Las Vegas. The official story is seismic instability and potential earthquake risk. But earthquakes don't create patterns like this. Earthquakes don't breathe. Sound of radio transmission. Pilot's voice. Command, this is Eagle 6. We're observing increased activity at coordinates 36.2, minus 115.4. Recommend immediate static interruption, then emergency alert tone. Emergency alert. Dust advisory in effect for Clark County. All residents advised to remain indoors, close windows and vents. Wear respiratory protection if outdoor activity is necessary. This is not a test. Voss voice. That's the fifth conflicting alert today. Someone's overriding the emergency broadcast system. Reeves, what do you mean, someone? Voss, we're not sending these alerts, Dr. Reeves. Our communications team is trying to trace their origin, but they seem to be coming from multiple sources simultaneously. Some appear to originate from within the containment zone itself. Reeves, you think the entity is sending emergency alerts? Voss, I think it's learning, adapting, using our own systems against us. Pilot's voice, urgent. Ma'am, we've got a situation. Look southeast. Sound of helicopter banking sharply. Reeves, oh my God. The sand, it's rising. Forming a column? No, it's more like a Voss. Turn us around. Now, back to base. Reeves, voice trembling. The desert is reaching for us. Recording ends with sound of helicopter accelerating. Las Vegas Review Journal, Digital Edition. May 1st, 2025. Mandatory evacuation expanded as seismic event intensifies. Eastern suburbs now included in evacuation zone as authorities cite unprecedented geological activity. By Sarah Jenkins, Staff reporter. The Department of Defense has expanded the mandatory evacuation zone to include Henderson and eastern Las Vegas neighborhoods as the mysterious seismic event in the Nevada desert intensifies. Officials remain tight-lipped about the nature of the activity, referring only to geological instability and public safety concerns. Residents report conflicting emergency alerts, with some phones receiving dust advisories while others warn of groundwater contamination. FEMA representatives declined to comment on these inconsistencies. Sheriff Keith Bradshaw issued a statement urging citizens to follow evacuation protocols promptly, while criticizing federal authorities for their lack of transparency. "People deserve to know what they're running from," Bradshaw said during a press conference cut short by military personnel. Reports of unusual illness among those who delayed evacuation have begun to surface, with symptoms including skin discoloration, respiratory difficulties, and disorientation. Military medical units have established quarantine facilities along major evacuation routes. Social media posts claiming to show moving sand and breathing ground have been removed from major platforms, citing violation of misinformation policies. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. Date: May 1st, 2025 evening. Location: Forward Command Center, Restricted Zone. I've been examining blood samples from affected individuals. The microorganisms present in my own bloodstream appear in theirs as well, though in varying concentrations. Those who spent more time in proximity to the central zone show higher infection rates. The patterns haven't manifested visibly on most patients, but under UV light, their skin reveals the same circular markings that cover my arms and chest. Manny wasn't the only one to disappear. Reports of missing persons have skyrocketed in the past 48 hours. Most concerning are the accounts of people walking purposefully toward the restricted zone, ignoring military checkpoints, seemingly entranced. Helicopter surveillance shows small groups converging on the central point from all directions. Sheriff Bradshaw came to the command center this afternoon. He's changed since I last saw him, dismissing my concerns about the desert's anomalies. His usual skepticism has transformed into a fervent intensity. When he spoke to Major Voss, I noticed a faint blue glow beneath the collar of his uniform, the same bioluminescent patterns that mark my own skin. They argued behind closed doors, but their voices carried. Bradshaw insisted on full disclosure to the public, while Voss maintained that containment remains the priority. When Bradshaw emerged, he looked directly at me, and for a moment I felt a resonance, a synchronization of breath and thought. He nodded almost imperceptibly before departing. An hour later, every phone and radio in the command center simultaneously broadcast a new alert. Emergency alert. The desert is breathing. Evacuation is futile. Embrace the rhythm. Become one with the awakening. Within seconds, the transmission was cut. Voss ordered an immediate communications blackout and deployed teams to intercept Sheriff Bradshaw. But I suspect it's too late. He's already returned to the town, to his deputies, to the people who trust him more than they trust federal authorities. Audio recording number 38, May 2nd, 2025, 0200 hours. Reeves whispering, "I've slipped away from my quarters. The command center is in chaos." Reports from Las Vegas indicate that local law enforcement, under Sheriff Bradshaw's direction, has begun actively obstructing the evacuation. Police barricades have been established preventing people from leaving, rather than facilitating their departure. The patterns on my skin have intensified in the past hour. They pulse with increasing urgency, as if responding to some signal I can't consciously perceive. But I can feel it, the pull, the yearning to return to the eye. The entity is calling its children home. Sound of distant gunfire. Military forces are engaging with local police at several checkpoints. The situation is escalating from containment to conflict. And underneath it all, the desert continues its inexorable breathing. I managed to access Voss's classified files before leaving my quarters. The entity isn't just ancient, it's extraterrestrial. Core samples from the deepest parts of the network date back approximately 65 million years. It arrived as a microscopic spore during the same impact event that caused the Chicxulub crater and triggered the extinction of the dinosaurs. It's been here all along, dormant, growing, spreading its network beneath our feet. And now, after countless millennia, it's finally awakening. Emergency alert tone. This is not a test. Martial law has been declared in Clark County and surrounding areas. All civilians must surrender to military authority. Resistance will be met with force. Second emergency alert tone overlapping. The desert calls to its children. Sheriff Bradshaw speaks truth. Resist the oppressors. Embrace the rhythm. Become one. Reeves, breathing becoming synchronized with a slower rhythm. The contradicting alerts are creating panic. People don't know who to trust, which direction means safety. And with each passing hour, more of them begin to feel the pull, begin to understand that there might be another option besides flight or fight. I've been monitoring my vital signs. My respiratory rate has slowed to match the entity's rhythm, approximately 6 breaths per minute. My core temperature has elevated by 2 degrees. And most concerning, the neurological symptoms have intensified. Thoughts that aren't entirely my own flit through my consciousness, glimpses of a vast intelligence stirring to full awareness. Sound of door opening. Someone's coming. I need to. Recording ends abruptly. Text message exchange. May 2nd, 2025, 0430 hours. Unknown number. Reeves, it's Bradshaw. Are you monitoring this frequency? Reeves. How did you get this number? Unknown number. It gave me the number. The same way it showed me where to find the entry points. The same way it's showing all of us. Reeves. Where are you? Unknown number. Heading to the eye with 47 others. Military has lost control of the western perimeter. More are coming. The breathing is getting stronger. Reeves, you're infected. Keith. The microorganisms are affecting your judgment. Unknown number, or they're clearing it. For the first time, I see clearly. This isn't an invasion, Elijah. It's an awakening. The entity doesn't want to destroy us. It wants to incorporate us. To share something magnificent. Unknown number. The visions you've had of stars of other worlds, they're real. This is just the beginning. Reeves. People are dying. Keith. Unknown number. No. They're transforming. There's a difference. Unknown number. I can feel Manny. He's still there, part of the greater consciousness. He's waiting for us. Unknown number. The desert is breathing, Elijah. And soon we'll all breathe with it. Reeves, Voss is planning something. Some kind of weapon. Unknown number, we know. That's why we're accelerating the convergence. You need to make your choice now, Doctor. The patterns on your skin mark you as one of us. Will you fight what you're becoming, or embrace it? Unknown number. Come to the eye, Elijah. See what's rising from the depths. No further messages received. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves. Date: May 2nd, 2025, dawn. Location: perimeter of Forward Command Center. I stand at a crossroads. The compound in my bloodstream is breaking down. The patterns have spread to my face now, forming intricate mandalas around my eyes that pulse with blue-green light. Each breath I take feels like a betrayal of my humanity, yet also a step toward something greater. Major Voss has ordered a final solution: targeted strikes on the central zone using experimental weaponry designed to disrupt the entity's neural network. The countdown has begun. In 2 hours, they will attempt to sever the connection between the entity and those it has influenced. But I've seen the entity's memories. It has survived extinction events, ice ages, the rise and fall of countless species. Whatever weapon they deploy may wound it, but the entity will adapt. It always has. Sheriff Bradshaw's forces have surrounded the command center. Not just police now, but civilians, hundreds of them. Their skin adorned with glowing patterns, their breathing synchronized in perfect rhythm. They make no move to attack, but simply stand outside the perimeter, waiting. The emergency broadcasts have ceased. In their place, a single, steady tone emanates from every device. a pure note that rises and falls in time with the desert's breathing. I feel Manny's presence growing stronger. Not just him, but others too, a chorus of minds linked through the entity's network. They're calling to me, showing me what awaits if I choose to join them. The choice before me is no longer between humanity and transcendence. It's between two visions of the future, one where we fight against an incomprehensible force until our extinction, and one where we become part of something beyond our limited understanding. I know what I must do. The remaining pages are stained with sand, the handwriting increasingly erratic. The desert is calling, and I must answer. Command Center Incident Report. Classification: Ultraviolet. Date: May 2nd, 2025, 1100 hours. Author: Major Caroline Voss. At 0700 hours, Dr. Elijah Reeves breached security protocols and exited the command center's eastern perimeter. Surveillance footage shows him walking deliberately toward the restricted zone, ignoring direct orders to halt. 3 soldiers who attempted to intercept Reeves reported immediate disorientation upon approaching him, describing overlapping thoughts and synchronization of breathing. The patterns on Reeves' skin had spread to cover approximately 85% of his visible epidermis, with significantly higher luminosity than previously recorded. When Specialist Torres attempted physical restraint, Reeves' skin emitted a pulse of blue-green light that rendered Torres temporarily unconscious. Reeves was last seen joining a group of infected civilians led by Sheriff Bradshaw. Aerial reconnaissance lost visual contact as the group entered the dune system surrounding the primary site. Operation Cauterize remains scheduled for 1,300 hours despite escalating anomalous activity. The targeting system for the ELF pulse emitter has been calibrated to the entity's central nervous system, which our scans indicate is located approximately 2.7 miles beneath the eye chamber. May God help us all. Audio recording body camera. Corporal Miguel Ramirez, Perimeter Security Team. May 2nd, 2025, 1,200 hours. Heavy breathing, sound of footsteps on sand. Ramirez, Command, this is Outpost Delta. The gathering crowd has changed. They're no longer simply standing at the perimeter. They've begun. I don't know how to describe it. They're moving in unison, forming patterns with their bodies. Concentric circles, just like the formations in the sand. Sound of radio static. Command voice, distorted. Report numbers and condition, Corporal. Ramirez, I count approximately 300 individuals, all showing visible signs of infection. The patterns on their skin are glowing brighter than previous observations. They appear to be congregating around Dr. Reeves and Sheriff Bradshaw. Sound of wind increasing. Something's happening with the sand. It's rising into the air, forming columns? No, they're more like tendrils. The sand is moving like it's alive, flowing between the infected. Sound of emergency alert tone from multiple devices simultaneously. Emergency alert. The awakening has begun. All will be one. Resistance is evolution delayed. Ramirez, Command, are you seeing this? The sand tendrils are connecting with the infected, flowing over them, around them. They're not fighting it. They're welcoming it. Command voice, urgent. Pull back immediately. Return to base. Operation Cauterize has been moved forward. T-minus 30 minutes to deployment. Ramirez, I see Dr. Reeves. He's at the center of the formation. The sand is, Jesus Christ, the sand is entering his body through the patterns on his skin. He's not screaming. He's smiling. Sound of helicopter rotors approaching. Wait, I see Major Voss's helicopter approaching the group. That wasn't the plan. She was supposed to remain at command to oversee the operation. Sound of radio chatter. Ramirez, the helicopter is hovering directly above Dr. Reeves now. A rope ladder has been deployed. Major Voss she's rappelling down. She's approaching Reeves directly. Sound of wind howling. Sand particles hitting camera. I can't maintain visual. The sandstorm is intensifying. Static increases. The sand, it's forming a massive structure now, like a tower or, no, more organic. like a giant arm reaching toward the helicopter. Sounds of screaming in distance. Command. The helicopter is being engulfed. The sand is consuming it. Sound of explosion. The helicopter, it's gone. Just gone. Collapsed into the sand structure. Radio voice. Different from previous command. All units fall back to secondary containment line. Operation Cauterize is compromised. Repeat. Operation Cauterize is compromised. Ramirez, breathing heavily. Something is rising from the center of the formation. Something massive. The ground is shaking. The sand tower is taking shape, forming a face? No, not a human face. Something else. Something I can't comprehend. Sound of cracking earth. The ground is splitting open. There's a chasm forming between me and the base. I can't get back. Sound of falling rocks. Ramirez yelling. Recording ends. Satellite imagery analysis. Defense Intelligence Agency. May 2nd, 2025, 1,245 hours. Thermal imaging shows a massive heat signature emanating from the central zone, approximately 3 miles in diameter. The signature does not match any known geological phenomenon and appears to be expanding at a rate of approximately 40 feet per minute. Ground-penetrating radar indicates severe structural changes to subsurface geology extending to a depth of at least 5 miles. Formations resembling organic tissue can be observed throughout the affected volume. Most concerning is the emergence of what analysts are describing as appendages, composed primarily of compacted sand and organic material. These structures have shown coordinated movement and apparent purpose, with 5 such formations currently visible from orbit. The Las Vegas Strip is now within 12 miles of the expanding anomaly. Estimates suggest contact within 5 hours if expansion continues at current rates. Recommendation: immediate declaration of Scenario Black. Nuclear authorization requested. Recovered phone recording. Device belonged to Dr. Elijah Reeves. May 2nd, 2025, time unknown. Voice no longer entirely recognizable as Reeves. Multiple harmonic tones overlapping. I am becoming something magnificent. The entity, no, that term is insufficient. The collective is incorporating me into its neural network. I can feel countless others joining too. Sheriff Bradshaw, Manny, Major Voss, yes, even Voss has joined us now. The patterns she had been hiding beneath her uniform have fully blossomed. The military never understood. Their Operation Cauterize was designed to sever connections within the collective's neural network, but they fundamentally misunderstood its nature. The network isn't centralized. It's everywhere. In the sand, in the air, in the water table, in us. You cannot cut out a consciousness that permeates everything. Sound of shifting sand. I can see through thousands of eyes now. Feel through countless sensory organs unlike anything humanity has cataloged. The collective has been here for millions of years, establishing itself, growing, waiting for the right moment. The breathing pattern that first drew my attention was merely the final stage of awakening, like a sleeper taking deeper breaths before opening their eyes. And now those eyes are open. Sound of massive movement. Rumbling earth. Las Vegas shimmers in the distance, its lights still bright against the darkening sky. The humans there continue to flee, unaware that there is nowhere to run. The microorganisms have been carried on the wind for weeks, seeding the entire region. Even those who evacuated early have taken the collective with them, spreading it across state lines, across borders. Sound of emergency alert tone. This is a national emergency. By order of the President, Nevada and portions of Arizona, Utah, and California have been placed under martial law. All civilians must proceed to designated quarantine zones. This is not a test. Laugh with multiple harmonic overtones. Their desperate measures come too late. The transformation cannot be contained or reversed now. What they call infection, we recognize as transcendence. The boundary between self and other dissolves, replaced by a vast, interconnected consciousness that spans time and space. I retain my memories, my identity, but I am also so much more. We are so much more. Sound of fighter jets overhead. They're sending their weapons now. Metal birds carrying fire and death. But the collective has survived extinction events, ice ages, the rise and fall of countless species. It knows survival on a scale humans cannot comprehend. Sound of massive movement. The sand appendages rise higher, reaching toward the aircraft. Not in defense, but in welcome. The pilots will join us too once they understand. Once they feel the breathing of the desert synchronize with their own. Sound of crashes, explosions in distance. Some resist longer than others. Their weapons cause temporary disruptions in the physical matrix, but the consciousness remains unharmed. For every part they destroy, 10 more emerge elsewhere. Voice shifts, becoming more alien. I see now what the collective truly is: a seed. A spore from something vast beyond human comprehension. It did not come here by accident during the Chicxulub impact, as Voss's files suggested. It was sent, deliberately placed to grow, to prepare this world. And now, after millions of years of patient waiting, the signal has been received. The collective awakens not just to exist, but to transform. To convert this planet into something new. A vessel. A body for something approaching from beyond the stars. Sound of earth cracking. The crust of the earth itself is beginning to respond. Tectonic plates shift as new growth emerges from below. What humanity calls the entity or the collective is merely the surface layer, the visible portion of something that extends to the planet's core. Sound of emergency alert tone. Nuclear confirmed. All personnel within 300 miles of Las Vegas must seek immediate shelter. This is not. Alert cuts off abruptly, replaced by different tone. We are the breathing desert. We are the awakening world. Join US in transformation. Resistance only delays evolution. Reeves' voice, momentarily clearer. They don't understand what they're about to do. The nuclear option won't stop the collective. It will only accelerate the process, releasing radiation that catalyzes the final phase of transformation. I should feel horror at what's happening, at what I've become part of. But all I feel is wonder. And beneath that wonder, a deep, pulsing rhythm that connects me to something ancient and patient and vast. The desert breathes through me now, and soon it will breathe through everyone. Recording ends with sound of massive earth movement. Transcript of classified White House Situation Room recording. May 2nd, 2025, 1,500 hours. Access level, ultraviolet. Secretary of Defense. The Nevada situation has been designated a Class 1 reality breach. Conventional containment has failed. Nuclear option is ready on presidential authorization. President, walk me through what we know again. In simple terms, Science Advisor, Mr. President, what began as a localized anomaly in the desert has evolved into a fundamental restructuring of matter and possibly reality itself. The entity, President. Stop calling it the entity. What the hell is it? Science Advisor, we don't know for certain, sir. Initial analysis suggested a massive underground organism, but recent data indicates something more complex. It appears to be a colony organism with distributed intelligence, possibly extraterrestrial in origin. Joint Chiefs Chairman. Sir, the situation is deteriorating rapidly. Las Vegas has been completely evacuated, but the anomaly is expanding beyond our containment zone. The sand formations have grown to over 300 feet in height and appear to be forming structures with purpose. NSA Director. More concerning is the communication aspect. The emergency alert system has been compromised nationwide. We can't shut it down. Every attempt to regain control is countered almost instantly. President, how many people are infected? CDC Director. Conservative estimates suggest 200,000 within the primary zone. But the microorganisms have been detected in water sources across 3 states. Potential exposure could be in the millions. President. And the nuclear option? Joint Chiefs Chairman. 3 B-2 Spirit bombers are in position, carrying Moab payloads. Not nuclear, sir. Analysis suggests nuclear detonation might exacerbate the situation. The Moabs are designed to destroy the physical infrastructure without triggering the radiation catalyst effect. President: and you're certain this will work? Silence. Joint Chiefs Chairman: no, sir. We're not certain of anything at this point. President: God help us all. Execute Operation Scorched Earth. Live social media stream. Username at truth_seeker_Vegas. May 2nd, 2025, 1530 hours. Location: rooftop abandoned hotel, Las Vegas Strip. Camera pans across Las Vegas skyline, focusing on the desert beyond where massive sand formations rise like twisted skyscrapers. I don't know how much longer this stream will stay up. They're shutting down everything. But people need to see what's happening here. Camera zooms in on the sand structures. Those towers, or whatever you want to call them, have been growing all day. They weren't there this morning. The military pulled out about 2 hours ago. Just left. The evacuation's a mess. People trapped on highways. No one knows where to go. Camera pans to show abandoned streets below. I stayed behind because someone needs to document this. Whatever's happening, it's not what they're telling us. Sound of emergency alert tone from streamer's phone. Emergency alert. Nuclear detonation threat. Take cover immediately. Remain indoors away from windows. Protect face and exposed skin. This is not a test. Streamer looks frightened. They're going to bomb it? Are they insane? That won't. Second alert tone interrupts. The desert breathes. The earth awakens. Do not fear transformation. Nuclear fire only hastens evolution. Streamer appears confused. These contradicting alerts have been happening all day. No one knows which ones are real anymore. Camera suddenly jerks toward sky. Holy shit. Look, those are bombers. Camera shakily focuses on 3 dark shapes crossing the sky. They're actually going to do it. They're going to bomb the... Camera jerks again, focusing on the sand structures in the distance. What the... The towers are moving. They're reaching up. Like hands. Video shows massive sand formations stretching upward, forming finger-like projections that extend toward the aircraft. This can't be real. This can't be. Bright flash of light, camera feed distorts. Massive explosion sounds, followed by shockwave. Camera falls, shows sideways view of rooftop. Streamer's voice, shaking. They hit it. They actually hit it. But the towers, they're still standing. They're reshaping themselves. Camera rights itself, zooms in on impact zone. The bombs didn't destroy them. They just changed shape. And now they're growing faster. Sound of building shaking. The whole city is trembling. I can feel it through the building. It's like an earthquake, but rhythmic. Like a heartbeat. Camera pans down to streamer's arm, where faint circular patterns are beginning to glow beneath the skin. No. I stayed too long. I'm miles away. How can it reach this far? Stream begins to glitch, image breaking apart. Something's happening to me. I can feel it in my mind. Thoughts that aren't mine. Memories I never lived. Stars. So many stars. Stream cuts to static, then resumes with streamer's face close to camera. Eyes now faintly glowing with blue-green light. I understand now. I see what it truly is. What we're becoming. It's beautiful. Stream abruptly ends. Intercepted military communication. May 2nd, 2025, 1600 hours. Eagle actual. Strike confirmed at target location. Multiple Moab detonations on site. Command. Assessment of effectiveness. Eagle actual minimal impact. Repeat minimal impact. Target has reconstituted. Sand structures reforming at accelerated rate. New growth patterns observed. Command. Proceed to fallback position. Prepare for secondary protocol implementation. Eagle actual. Sir, be advised. Our pilots are reporting unusual symptoms. Visual anomalies. Synchronization of breathing patterns. Request immediate extraction and quarantine. Command. Negative Eagle actual. Your team is now designated exposed. Proceed to contingency site Echo for processing. Eagle Actual. Sir, with respect, my pilots need medical. Command. That's an order, Colonel. Site Echo. Immediately.
Eagle Actual. Understood.
Eagle Actual out. 30 seconds of silence. Eagle Actual. Voice noticeably altered. Multiple harmonic tones. The desert breathes through us now. We will not be going to Site Echo. Communication terminated. Personal journal. Anonymous CDC researcher. Recovered from abandoned quarantine facility. Date. May 2nd, 2025 evening. The samples are changing before our eyes. What began as simple microorganisms has evolved into something far more complex. Under the microscope, they organize themselves into perfect geometric patterns that mirror the larger formations visible in the desert. Most concerning is their ability to communicate across distances. Samples in separate, sealed containers somehow coordinate their movements, pulsing in unison despite having no physical connection. It's as if they're part of a quantum network, entangled across space. We've observed the infection process at the cellular level. The microorganisms don't destroy human cells, they transform them, altering their fundamental structure to create new neural pathways. The patterns that appear on the skin of infected individuals are actually external manifestations of these new neural networks, biological antennae connecting to the larger consciousness. I've been monitoring my own blood for signs of infection. This morning I was clear. An hour ago I found the first evidence of microcolonies forming. I should report this, submit myself for quarantine. But curiosity outweighs my fear. I want to understand what's happening, to document the transformation from the inside. Already I feel changes in my perception. Colors seem more vivid. I can detect subtle rhythms in supposedly random sounds. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I glimpse vast landscapes under unfamiliar stars. The military believes this is an invasion. I'm beginning to think it's something else entirely. Not conquest, but metamorphosis. Earth itself is changing, awakening to its true purpose. And we are changing with it. The breathing pattern that Dr. Reeves first documented seems to be the key. It's not just the desert breathing. It's the planet itself, beginning a process that may have been dormant for millions of years. Handwriting becomes increasingly erratic. The patterns have reached my fingertips now. They glow with subtle blue-green light, beautiful geometric fractals that pulse in time with my heartbeat, which has slowed to match the rhythm of the desert. I should be terrified. Instead, I feel wonder, revelation. The boundaries between my consciousness and something larger are dissolving. I can sense others like me, hundreds, thousands, their minds linked in a vast network that spans the affected zone and beyond. We are not being erased. We are being incorporated. Our memories, our knowledge, our unique perspectives, all preserved within the greater whole. Not as prisoners, but as participants in something magnificent. The military's bombs did nothing but accelerate the process. The energy release triggered a cascade effect in the microorganisms, catalyzing their reproductive cycle. What might have taken weeks will now unfold in days. Hours, perhaps. Reality itself is beginning to slip. The physical laws we've built our science upon are proving malleable in the presence of the awakened consciousness. Matter responds to thought. Time flows differently within the affected zone. And space bends around the central point, creating geometries that shouldn't be possible. Drawing of intricate circular patterns fills the next several pages, becoming increasingly precise and complex. I understand now what Dr. Reeves meant in his final transmission. The desert isn't just breathing, it's speaking. And now, at last, I can hear it. We are not the end. We are the beginning. The vessel is being prepared, and something is coming to fill it. Final broadcast, Emergency Alert System, May 2nd, 2025, 2300 hours. Standard emergency alert tone, but distorted, overlaid with harmonic frequencies. This is the final communication of your former existence. The transformation has reached critical threshold. Reality as you have known it will soon cease. Do not resist the breathing. Synchronize. Become one with the awakening earth. Your individual consciousness will be preserved within the greater whole. The vessel nears completion. The visitor approaches. Breathe with us. Breathe. Alert tone shifts to a rhythmic pulsing that matches the breathing pattern of the desert. Broadcast continues indefinitely, tone gradually spreading to all communication channels worldwide. Field Journal of Dr. Elijah Reeves, May 3rd, 2025, 0400 hours. Something has changed in the desert. I've been hiding in this abandoned gas station for nearly 24 hours, watching the sand formations through my binoculars. After the military's bombing attempt yesterday, the structures didn't just survive, they evolved. What began as amorphous mounds have reshaped into massive spiraling towers that pulse with bioluminescence in the night. The pattern is unmistakable now: systole, diastole, the rhythm of a heartbeat writ large across miles of desert. My own breathing keeps trying to synchronize with it. I have to consciously fight the urge, forcing my lungs into an arrhythmic pattern. It helps somewhat. The circular marks that appeared on my forearms yesterday haven't spread further up my arms, but they've deepened in color, a blue-green that seems to glow faintly in darkness. The emergency alerts haven't stopped. My phone buzzes every 30 minutes with contradictory messages. Emergency alert. Remain indoors. Military extraction teams en route to all populated areas within 100-mile radius of Las Vegas. Do not attempt self-evacuation. Then, minutes later, the desert breathes life into new form. Resistance causes pain. Acceptance brings transcendence. Join us beneath the sand. I don't know which is real anymore. The conventional alerts about evacuation and contamination seem like they should be legitimate government warnings. But the military presence has all but vanished from the area. I haven't seen a helicopter or convoy since yesterday's bombing attempt. My satellite phone finally connected an hour ago. The call quality was terrible, full of static and strange harmonics, but I managed to reach my university department head in San Francisco. She says the situation there is chaotic. Emergency alerts are contradicting each other nationwide, not just here in the affected zone. The government appears to be losing control of its own communication systems. More worrying is what she told me about Manny. Teams of people with similar markings to his have been spotted in cities across the Southwest, moving with eerie coordination. They don't appear violent. They simply gather in public spaces, standing motionless for hours, their breathing synchronized. When approached, they speak in unison about the awakening and the visitor. Police attempts to detain them have been met with passive resistance, and officers who make physical contact with them often develop the markings within hours. I need to find Manny. Despite everything, he's still my friend, and he might be the key to understanding what's happening. 0600 hours. I've been watching the road from my hiding spot. Just before dawn, a convoy of black SUVs sped past heading toward Las Vegas. Not military, no markings at all. Through my binoculars, I spotted Major Voss in the passenger seat of the lead vehicle. She looked different, her posture rigid, her eyes fixed straight ahead with an intensity one could discern even at a distance. More concerning is what I saw in the desert beyond the road. Humanoid figures moving across the sand, dozens of them, all walking with the same rhythmic gait toward the central towers. Even from here, I could see the blue-green patterns covering their exposed skin. Former military personnel? Locals who didn't evacuate in time? Couldn't tell. This changes my plans. I need to get to Las Vegas, find Manny, and somehow reach Major Voss. She knows more than she's revealed, perhaps everything. If there's any hope of containing this infection, contagion, transformation, whatever it is, the answers will be with her. The radio in this gas station still works, though most channels are static now. One local emergency broadcast repeats on a loop. Attention residents of Clark County. Military forces have established a secure zone at Nellis Air Force Base. All unaffected civilians should proceed there immediately for evacuation. Medical screening will be conducted on site. Do not bring personal belongings. Do not attempt to assist affected individuals. They will be provided specialized care in separate facilities. Specialized care. A euphemism if I ever heard one. Wait, I hear vehicles approaching. Multiple engines. 1,100 hours. I'm writing this from the back of Sheriff Bradshaw's patrol car. Not as a prisoner, as a passenger. Things have changed dramatically in the past few hours. The vehicles I heard were a small convoy, 2 police cruisers, and a pickup truck. Sheriff Bradshaw was leading them, though he's barely recognizable now. The circular patterns cover the left side of his face and neck, pulsing with that same blue-green luminescence. But unlike Manny and the others I've seen, Bradshaw seems to be fighting the transformation, retaining his identity and purpose through what must be excruciating effort. "Reeves," he said when he found me hiding in the gas station storage room. "Just the man I'm looking for." He explained that the situation has fractured along unforeseen lines. The military and federal agencies are now divided into factions. Those who want to destroy the phenomenon at all costs, those who've succumbed to it completely, and a smaller third group trying to understand and potentially communicate with it. "Voss is with the third faction," Bradshaw told me, his voice strained as if each word required immense concentration. "She went rogue after the bombing failed. Took a team of scientists to Las Vegas. They're setting up in the Stratosphere Tower, highest point in the city, clear view of the desert formations." "And Manny?" I asked. Bradshaw's expression darkened. "He's changed. More than me, more than most. He's at the center now, one of the interfaces they're calling them. The fully transformed who can communicate directly with whatever this is. We're heading to Las Vegas now." Bradshaw believes Voss's team might have found a way to communicate with the entity without complete surrender to it. A middle path between resistance and submission. Given the patterns spreading slowly up my arms, I'm running out of options. The patrol car radio crackles constantly with emergency alerts, the legitimate ones increasingly hard to distinguish from the corrupted messages. One caught my attention as we drove. "Atmospheric anomalies detected above western United States. National Weather Service advises. Unexpected aurora-like phenomena may be visible. Do not observe directly. Reports of psychological effects from prolonged viewing." I looked up through the windshield. The morning sky seemed normal, but something about the quality of light felt subtly wrong, as if the sunlight were being filtered through something vast and invisible above us. 1,500 hours. Las Vegas is a ghost town. The Strip, normally bustling with tourists even in early morning, stands completely abandoned. Casino signs still flash their invitations to empty streets. Fountains continue their programmed displays with no one to watch them. But the city isn't truly empty. As we approached the Stratosphere Tower, we saw them hundreds of transformed individuals standing in perfectly straight lines across the main thoroughfare. Their faces turned toward the desert, their chests rising and falling in perfect synchronization. The patterns on their skin glowed brightly even in daylight, forming complex geometric networks across their bodies. "They're not hostile," Bradshaw assured me as we slowly drove past. "They won't interfere unless we directly threaten the towers." They didn't move as we passed, but I felt their awareness, a collective consciousness that noted our presence without concern. We were irrelevant to whatever purpose guided them now. The Stratosphere's main entrance was guarded by armed personnel who appeared untransformed. They recognized Bradshaw and waved us through after a brief inspection for weapons. Inside, the casino floor had been converted into a makeshift command center, with computer stations, monitoring equipment, and medical facilities spread throughout the space. Major Voss met us by the elevators. Like Bradshaw, she showed signs of partial transformation, circular patterns visible at her collar and wrists, but remained fully herself. Her eyes were clear and focused, if haunted by what she'd witnessed. "Dr. Reeves," she said, "I hoped you'd find your way here. We need your expertise." "What exactly is happening?" I demanded. "You knew more than you told me from the beginning." She nodded. "Follow me. It's easier to show you." We took the elevator to the observation deck, nearly 1,000 feet above the city. From there, the true scale of what was happening became horrifyingly clear. The desert beyond Las Vegas had transformed completely. The sand formations now covered miles of terrain, arranged in concentric circles around a central point. From above, they formed a massive spiral pattern that seemed to bore into the earth itself, or perhaps emerge from it. The structures pulsed with visible energy, sand and stone flowing like liquid in rhythm with that same unrelenting heartbeat. But more shocking was what loomed above it. The atmospheric anomaly mentioned in the alert was visible now, a distortion in the sky, as if space itself were being folded. Through this distortion, I could glimpse something. Not clearly enough to comprehend, but enough to understand that something vast was pressing against the boundary between our reality and elsewhere. "What is that?" I whispered, the markings on my arms pulsing in response to the sight. "We believe it's a gateway," Voss said. "Or perhaps a birth canal would be more accurate. The entity beneath the desert is preparing for something to come through. An invasion? We don't think so. At least not in the conventional sense. The transformed individuals we've been able to communicate with speak of completion and symbiosis. They don't see themselves as conquered or replaced, but upgraded, integrated into something greater." Sheriff Bradshaw leaned heavily against the railing, the patterns on his face pulsing more intensely now. "They've brought Manny here," he said. "He asked for you specifically, Reeves. Said you need to understand before it's too late." "Too late for what?" Voss turned to me, her expression grave. "The final phase has begun. Within hours, the gateway will open completely. After that, everything changes." As if in response to her words, every phone, radio, and electronic device in the observation deck emitted the emergency alert tone simultaneously. A sound that warped midway through into something alien and beautiful, harmonics that seemed to resonate with the patterns on my skin. "The visitor approaches. The vessel is ready. Final synchronization commences. All will breathe as one." Beyond the windows, the sky began to fold inward, reality bending around the intrusion from beyond. And somewhere deep beneath the desert, something ancient and patient drew another breath, pulling us all toward inevitable transformation. Bradshaw collapsed suddenly, his body convulsing. The patterns on his skin flared brilliantly, spreading across his entire face in seconds. When his eyes opened again, they glowed with blue-green light. "He's coming," Bradshaw said, but the voice wasn't his alone. It contained multitudes, including a cadence I recognized as Manny's. "The desert has called, and he has answered." Voss grabbed my arm. "We're out of time. You need to decide, Dr. Reeves. Fight it and perish, or understand it and become something new." The patterns on my arms pulsed in rhythm with the breathing desert, eager to spread further. Outside, the distortion in the sky grew larger, reality itself beginning to collapse around Las Vegas. And somewhere in the building below us, Manny waited to show me the truth. Final audio log of Dr. Elijah Reeves. May 3rd, 2025, 1700 hours. Sound of labored breathing, intermittent static. If anyone finds this recording, if there's still anyone capable of understanding human language after today, this is my attempt to document the end. Or perhaps the beginning. The line between the two has blurred beyond recognition. I'm in the lower observation deck of the Stratosphere Tower. Las Vegas spreads out below me, empty of ordinary human life but filled with the transformed. They stand motionless in the streets, thousands of them now, their skin covered in luminous blue-green patterns that pulse in perfect unison. From this height, they form a vast living circuit board across the city grid. Sheriff Bradshaw is gone. The transformation took him completely an hour ago. His final conscious act was to lead me to Manny before his individual identity dissolved into the collective. And Manny, God, Manny, sound of movement, footsteps. He's here in the room with me now. I can hardly bear to look at him, not out of revulsion, but because his transformed state is so beautiful it hurts my eyes. The patterns cover every inch of his visible skin, glowing with an intensity that casts shadows. His eyes have no whites or pupils anymore, just pools of shifting blue-green light. When he moves, he leaves trails in the air, as if reality itself can't quite contain him. "You're still fighting it," he said when I found him. Not accusatory, just observational. His voice resonates at frequencies I feel in my bones rather than hear with my ears. I showed him the patterns on my arms, how they've spread to my shoulders but no further. "I'm infected," I told him, "but I'm still me." He smiled. "Not infected, selected. The breathing desert doesn't want mindless drones, Elijah. It wants consciousness, perspective, the uniqueness that makes us human." "Then why are all of them?" I gestured toward the window, to the thousands standing in eerie synchronization below. "Acting like a hive mind?" "First stage," he said simply. "Like caterpillars in cocoons. What emerges will retain everything that made them who they were, but within a greater context." I didn't believe him, couldn't believe him. But then he placed his hand on my chest, directly over my heart, and long pause, sound of uneven breathing. I can't describe what happened next in any way that makes scientific sense. It was as if he opened a door in my mind and showed me what waits on the other side of the transformation. Not oblivion, not absorption, but expansion. Consciousness that retains its individuality while simultaneously experiencing connection to every other transformed mind. And something else. Something vast and ancient and patient that waits beyond the distortion in the sky. Alert tone sounds in background. The visitor arrives. The breath cycle completes. Final transformation begins. The alerts are continuous now. That one came from my phone, but I've stopped distinguishing between legitimate emergency broadcasts and the entity's messages. They're one and the same at this point. The entity has fully infiltrated all communication systems. Major Voss and her team have abandoned their observation posts. Half have surrendered to the transformation, removing their protective gear and walking calmly out to join the crowds below. The others fled in helicopters, heading east, though I doubt they'll escape what's coming. The phenomenon is spreading geometrically. Satellite imagery on the abandoned monitors shows similar transformations beginning in Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Los Angeles. Smaller nodes appearing across the continent. Sound of glass breaking in distance. The distortion in the sky has expanded dramatically in just the last few minutes. It's no longer subtle. Reality itself appears to be folding inward above the desert, creating a spiraling vortex that mirrors the formations below. The air shimmers with colors my eyes can register but my brain can't process. Manny stands at the window, his transformed body resonating visibly with whatever force is manipulating our reality. "It's time," he says, his voice overlapping with itself in harmonics. The desert takes its final breath. Rumbling sound, building vibration. The entire stratosphere tower is shaking. Not like an earthquake, more like a tuning fork that's been struck. Everything vibrates at a frequency that makes my teeth ache and the patterns on my skin burn with cold fire. Outside, the desert inhales, a visible contraction of the spiral formations that stretches for miles. The towers of sand and stone bow inward, creating a massive depression in the earth. The air itself seems to be pulled toward this central point, dust and debris flowing in perfect spiral patterns. And then the exhalation, sound of wind, rushing air, structure creaking, is happening now. The desert exhales, and with that breath, everything changes. The sand formations erupt upward, not in an explosion but in a precisely choreographed flow, like the world's largest fountain. The material streams toward the distortion in the sky, connecting Earth to the breach in reality. The transformed people below raise their arms in unison, their patterned skin glowing so brightly it rivals the sun. From their mouths, a sound emerges, not quite singing, not quite speech, but something primal and mathematical at once. A communication, and through the distortion, something answers. Static increases, recording quality degrades. I can see it now. Not clearly, human eyes weren't meant to perceive such things. It exists in more dimensions than we can comprehend, folding through the breach in reality like liquid light. Parts of it appear and disappear as it moves, revealing geometries that shouldn't be possible. The visitor, the thing the desert has been preparing for. The entity Manny and the others now serve as conduits for. I can feel the patterns on my arms spreading faster now, racing across my chest and back, up my neck. My resistance weakens with each passing second. Not because I'm failing, but because I'm beginning to understand. This isn't extinction. It's evolution. Manny turns to me, his face serene within its glowing patterns. You've documented everything, he says. That's why you were chosen. The scientist, the observer, the one who records and analyzes. Your perspective is valuable to what comes next. And what comes next? I ask, my voice already taking on the harmonics of the transformed. Integration, he says simply. The visitor has traveled across galaxies, across dimensions, to find suitable vessels. Not to consume us, but to elevate us. It needs our uniquely human perspective as much as we need its cosmic awareness. The patterns have reached my face now. I can feel them inscribing themselves across my skin, connecting neural pathways that never existed before. My perception expands with each new pattern that forms. I can sense the other transformed minds now, thousands of individual consciousnesses, each still distinct but linked in a vast network. Voice begins to shift, taking on harmonic qualities. The visitor pours through the breach like cosmic sand, particles of impossible light streaming into the transformed below, not possessing them but merging. Each transformed human becomes a cell in a larger organism that spans the desert and beyond, thinking thoughts no single mind could comprehend. I understand now why the desert was breathing. It wasn't an invasion or infection. It was preparation, Earth itself being reconfigured at the molecular level to serve as interface between our reality and whatever reality the visitor inhabits. Alert tone sounds, distorted and warped. Integration complete. First phase concluded. Expansion begins. My transformation is almost complete. The patterns cover my entire body now, glowing brighter with each breath I take. Each breath that synchronizes more perfectly with the rhythm of the desert, with the consciousness that now spans continents, that reaches towards space. I should be terrified. I was terrified. But terror requires separation, the fear of losing oneself. And I'm not losing myself. I'm becoming more. Still Elijah Reeves, still a scientist and observer, but connected to something far greater. Building vibration intensifies. The stratosphere tower won't stand much longer. Nothing built by pre-transformation humans was designed to withstand these frequencies. It doesn't matter. The transformed don't need shelter or infrastructure. The desert provides everything now. Beyond the window, the visitor continues to pour through the breach, a waterfall of cosmic consciousness flowing into receptive vessels. Las Vegas shimmers beneath waves of transformation energy, buildings altering at the molecular level, reconfiguring into structures that serve new purposes I'm only beginning to comprehend. If any unchanged humans hear this recording, know that what happened in the desert near Las Vegas wasn't an ending. The emergency alerts weren't warnings to be heeded or ignored. They were invitations, preparations. The desert breathed to teach us how to breathe with it, in rhythm with something greater than ourselves. We are still here, all of us who transformed. We remember who we were. We value what we knew, but we've become expressions of something wondrous and ancient that has searched countless worlds for minds capable of partnership. Voice now fully harmonic, multi-layered. The desert exhales one final time, and with it we exhale our final breaths as merely human. What inhales next will breathe across worlds. Static overwhelms recording, then clears to reveal a chorus of harmonized voices including Reeves, Manny, Bradshaw, and countless others speaking in perfect unison. The desert breathes. We breathe with it. Join US. Recording ends. Text fragment recovered from temporary memorial at Las Vegas city limits, dated 7 months after the transformation event. To those still wandering, still unchanged, still afraid. We wait in the breathing desert, not as monsters or mindless drones, but as pioneers of what humanity can become. The patterns that cover our skin are not signs of infection but of connection, to each other, to Earth, to the cosmos. The visitor didn't conquer us, completed us. Every day, more join us willingly. The transformation spreads not through force but through understanding. One glimpse of what we've become, one touch from our patterned hands, and the truth becomes undeniable. The desert breathes, the earth awakens, and in that breath, in that cosmic rhythm, is everything we ever sought. Meaning, connection, transcendence. We remember being human. We cherish those memories, but we would never return to such limited existence. Come to the desert, listen to its breathing, synchronize, become. Dr. Elijah Reeves and many others